Welcome to English Lane. Dear learners, today you are about to listen to one of the most powerful and inspirational stories of our time. The story of a man who rose from a small European country to lead the United Nations, the largest international organization in the world. This is the life story of António Guterres, a man of peace, compassion, and purpose. Through this story, you will not only learn English, you will also learn leadership, humanity, determination, and global understanding. What you will learn? You will practice real-world English listening. You will learn words related to politics, diplomacy, and leadership. You will improve your pronunciation and comprehension through storytelling. And most importantly, you will gain inspiration from a man who chose kindness over power and service over fame. So, sit comfortably, open your ears and your heart, and let's begin the remarkable journey of António Guterres. From Lisbon, Portugal, to the United Nations headquarters in New York. Chapter 1. Childhood and Early Influences. António Manuel de Oliveira Guterres was born on April 30th, 1949 in Lisbon, Portugal, into a middle-class family that valued education, integrity, and compassion. Portugal at that time was under the authoritarian regime of Estado Novo, and freedom of speech and political discussion were heavily restricted. Yet within his home, António was exposed to thoughtful discussions about morality, justice, and responsibility. His father, Virgílio Dias Guterres, was an engineer, practical and disciplined, while his mother, Hilda Candida de Oliveira, was a teacher, patient, and empathetic, who instilled in him the importance of learning and character. From a young age, António displayed extraordinary curiosity and intelligence, spending hours reading about history, science, geography, and philosophy, always asking why and how things worked, and questioning what was fair and just. He was also compassionate. He would help classmates struggling with lessons and stood up for children who were bullied or marginalized. Family meals were full of dialogue about current events, ethics, and the meaning of responsibility, which cultivated in him the habit of thinking carefully before speaking and developing empathy for others. Growing up in a politically repressive environment, he learned the value of freedom and justice, realizing early that power without morality could lead to oppression. These childhood experiences laid the moral and intellectual foundation for his lifelong commitment to service, fairness, and humanity. Chapter 2. Education and the Search for Purpose. António attended Liceu Camões, one of Lisbon's most prestigious schools, where he excelled in mathematics, physics, and philosophy, but also demonstrated a remarkable capacity for empathy and leadership. He loved to learn and often helped peers understand complex concepts, reflecting both intelligence and kindness. After completing high school in 1966, he entered the Instituto Superior Técnico in Lisbon to study electrical engineering. University life was demanding, yet he excelled academically, developing strong analytical skills and logical thinking. During these years, the world was undergoing social and political upheaval, and António became aware of global struggles for justice and human rights. Portugal, still under dictatorship, experienced growing student movements calling for democracy and social change. António was not a loud protester, but he became involved in Catholic student groups where debates on ethics, democracy, and social responsibility were common. Through volunteering and community service, he discovered a deep interest in helping others, understanding that education and technology could serve humanity. After graduating with first-class honors in 1971, instead of pursuing a lucrative engineering career, he chose public service. He briefly worked as a university lecturer, but realized that his true passion lay in serving society and improving the lives of ordinary citizens. The Carnation Revolution of 1974 marked a turning point, opening the doors to democracy in Portugal and inspiring António to enter politics. He joined the Socialist Party, determined to dedicate his life to promoting equality, social justice, and democratic governance, setting the stage for a career that would eventually take him from Lisbon to the global stage. Chapter 3. The Rise of a Young Politician. After the Carnation Revolution in 1974, Portugal transitioned from decades of dictatorship to democracy, and António Guterres, now in his mid-20s, felt a deep responsibility to serve his country. He joined the Socialist Party, believing that equality, education, and social justice were the pillars of a healthy society. He started as a party activist, working closely with local communities to develop educational programs, health initiatives, and poverty reduction efforts. His intelligence, dedication, and humble demeanor quickly attracted attention from senior party leaders. By 1976, at just 27 years old, he ran for a parliamentary seat in Lisbon and won, becoming one of the youngest members of Portugal's newly established parliament. In parliament, he focused on social welfare policies, particularly those benefiting children, the elderly, and underprivileged citizens. He was known for his calm debates, logical reasoning, and ethical approach to politics. His habit of listening carefully before speaking, cultivated since childhood, earned him respect among colleagues and opponents alike. He consistently emphasized that leadership meant serving the people rather than seeking power for oneself. During a heated parliamentary discussion on social inequality, he stated, "A nation is judged by how it treats its weakest citizens," a phrase that would become symbolic of his political philosophy. These early years as a young politician laid the foundation for his later national and global leadership, showing that integrity, empathy, and determination could have a profound impact on society. Chapter 4. Leading Portugal and becoming Prime Minister. By the late 1980s, António Guterres had become a central figure within the Socialist Party, known for his thoughtful approach and moral integrity. In 1992, he was elected Secretary General of the Socialist Party, a position that allowed him to shape national policies and guide his party towards victory. In 1995, he successfully led the party to win the national elections and became the Prime Minister of Portugal, holding office until 2002. At 46, he was relatively young for the position, but commanded respect through intelligence, dedication, and ethical leadership. During his tenure, he implemented major education reforms, introducing new curricula, expanding access to technology, and improving schools across the country. He guided Portugal into the Eurozone, balancing economic growth with social welfare policies. Healthcare funding was increased and programs for children, the elderly, and marginalized communities were strengthened. He maintained close contact with citizens, frequently visiting schools, hospitals, and towns to understand their needs firsthand. Unlike many politicians, he avoided aggressive media campaigns and focused on calm, rational communication, listening carefully to all voices before making decisions. Despite facing economic crises, political opposition, and natural disasters, he remained humble and committed to fairness. His leadership style earned him the nickname, the People's Prime Minister, and his tenure is remembered as a period of stability, social progress, and compassionate governance that inspired both his fellow politicians and citizens. Chapter 5. Global Recognition and Humanitarian Work. After resigning as Prime Minister in 2002, António Guterres shifted his focus from national politics to international humanitarian service, believing that his mission extended beyond Portugal to the world's most vulnerable people. He began working with the Club of Madrid, an organization of former democratic leaders promoting good governance and human rights globally. His dedication and moral vision led to his appointment in 2005 as the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, where he became responsible for protecting millions of displaced people worldwide. During his tenure at UNHCR, he managed crises in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Sudan, and many other countries, coordinating emergency aid and long-term refugee support programs. He personally visited refugee camps, listened to families' stories, and ensured that their voices were included in policy decisions. He advocated for global responsibility sharing, stating that there is no them and us, but only one humanity. Under his leadership, the UNHCR became more efficient and effective, expanding operations and improving responses to emergencies. His approach emphasized compassion, integrity, and practical problem-solving, demonstrating that leadership is measured not by authority or power, but by service to those in need. These years of humanitarian work established António Guterres as a respected global figure and prepared him for his eventual election as Secretary General of the United Nations, a role in which he continues to prioritize peace, justice, and human dignity. Chapter 6. Secretary General Election and Assumption of Office. In 2016, António Guterres was elected as the 9th Secretary General of the United Nations, succeeding Ban Ki-moon, and took office on January 1, 2017. His election was widely celebrated as a sign of hope because he represented both intellect and compassion. From the moment he assumed office, he emphasized the importance of dialogue, diplomacy, and multilateral cooperation. His first address to the UN General Assembly reflected his lifelong belief that no country can solve global problems alone and that solidarity and mutual understanding are essential for peace. António Guterres faced immediate challenges, including conflicts in Syria, Yemen, and other war-torn regions, growing refugee crises, climate change, and political tensions among member states. He approached these issues with calm, reasoned leadership and a focus on listening to all parties involved. He worked tirelessly to build consensus, promote sustainable development goals, and strengthen the United Nations' capacity to respond to humanitarian emergencies. During his first year, he visited dozens of countries, meeting with leaders, refugees, and ordinary citizens alike. He emphasized that the United Nations exists not to dictate solutions, but to serve humanity by facilitating cooperation, supporting human rights, and providing protection to the vulnerable. His emphasis on diplomacy, ethical leadership, and personal humility won him respect from colleagues, world leaders, and citizens around the globe. Chapter 7. Global Challenges and UN Leadership. As Secretary General, António Guterres has been at the center of some of the most pressing global challenges of the 21st century. The world faced unprecedented humanitarian crises, climate emergencies, and conflicts that required immediate attention. He consistently stressed that dialogue, not confrontation, is the path to lasting solutions, and that empathy and understanding should guide international diplomacy. He addressed issues such as the Syrian refugee crisis, advocating for the protection of displaced populations and urging countries to share responsibility. He championed the Sustainable Development Goals, focusing on poverty eradication, gender equality, education for all, and the protection of the environment. He led the United Nations through the COVID-19 pandemic, emphasizing global solidarity, equitable vaccine distribution, and cooperation among nations to combat the health and economic impacts of the virus. António Guterres also worked to reform the internal structure of the UN to make it more efficient and responsive to global crises. His style of leadership remained deeply human-centered. He made it a point to meet refugees, visit disaster zones, and personally witness the situations that millions of people were facing. Through his actions, he demonstrated that leadership at the global level requires patience, humility, moral courage, and unwavering commitment to the principles of justice and human dignity. Chapter 8. Philosophy, Diplomacy, and Vision. António Guterres' philosophy of leadership is deeply rooted in his belief that peace, justice, and cooperation are the foundation of human civilization. He has repeatedly stated that effective leadership comes from listening, understanding, and serving rather than dominating or imposing authority. His approach to diplomacy has been inclusive and non-confrontational. He believes that negotiation and dialogue are the most powerful tools to resolve conflict, and that sustainable peace is built on trust and mutual respect. Throughout his tenure, he has emphasized the importance of climate action, warning that environmental degradation and climate change are not just ecological issues, but threats to peace, security, and global stability. He has also been a strong advocate for gender equality, youth empowerment, and the responsible use of technology. António Guterres has consistently maintained that international cooperation is essential to solve problems that transcend borders, and he has dedicated his life to fostering understanding between nations, cultures, and communities. His vision combines practical problem-solving with moral responsibility, making him a leader who inspires not only through policies, but also through personal example. Chapter 9. Personal Life and Legacy. Despite his high-profile position, António Guterres lives a life marked by humility, simplicity, and dedication to service. He is married to Catarina de Albuquerque and shares a deep commitment to social justice, human rights, and humanitarian work. He is multilingual, speaks several languages fluently, enjoys reading extensively, and values moments of quiet reflection. Colleagues often describe him as patient, thoughtful, and deeply empathetic, a leader who prioritizes the welfare of people over personal recognition. His legacy is defined by his lifelong commitment to service, his unwavering moral compass, and his ability to lead with compassion. From his early years in Lisbon, growing up under a repressive regime, to his role as Portugal's Prime Minister, his work as UN High Commissioner for Refugees, and ultimately as Secretary General of the United Nations, António Guterres has remained consistent in his dedication to humanity, justice, and ethical leadership. His life story demonstrates that leadership is about purpose, vision, and serving others rather than seeking power for its own sake. He leaves behind an example for future generations that true influence comes from empathy, courage, and integrity. Chapter 10. Inspirational Lessons for the World. The life of António Guterres teaches us that dedication, compassion, and persistence can transform not only an individual's life but also the lives of millions around the world. From a young boy in Lisbon fascinated by learning and justice to a global leader tackling some of the most difficult humanitarian crises, his story provides lessons in resilience, humility, and ethical leadership. By listening before speaking, by valuing dialogue over confrontation, and by prioritizing service over personal gain, António Guterres has modeled a form of leadership that is rare in the modern world. English learners watching and listening to this biography will benefit not only from improving vocabulary, pronunciation, and comprehension, but also from absorbing the nuances of storytelling, narrative structure, and the use of language to describe complex real-world events and moral principles. The continuous narrative of his life provides opportunities to learn words related to politics, diplomacy, humanitarian work, and global governance, while also understanding the sequence of historical events, cause and effect, and character development. Through his biography, learners can practice listening for details, understanding context, and following a complex storyline in English, all of which are essential skills for mastering the language. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through the life of António Guterres. We hope his story inspired you as much as it inspired us, showing that leadership, compassion, and dedication can truly change the world. If you enjoyed this video and want to continue learning English through fascinating real-life stories, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to English Lane for more inspirational biographies and English listening practice. Also, leave a comment below telling us which part of António Guterres' life inspired you the most. We love hearing from you. Remember, every story you listen to here is a step forward in improving your English, understanding the world, and growing as a thoughtful, global citizen. See you in the next story.